right, guys, what's going on?
Hey, Avi.
Hello. Hello. Happy pre-election day, everyone. One of two groups is in for a shocking reality, and everyone thinks it's the other group. So I guess we'll find out on Friday. Anyway,
Terrifying.
kind of what do we got here?
This is a shave biopsy with some superficial perivascular infiltrate. It doesn't look to be lymphocytic. It doesn't look jet black. Um, More concentrated there. Yeah, it looks more eosinophilic. Is that all? I'm assuming that's blood.
Well, let's
Mhm.
not assume. Let's figure it out.
Yeah, there's a bunch of bilobed. So it's like it looks like it's eosinophils and could be newts as well.
So there's definitely blood here, and there's definitely neutrophils here. I'm not seeing the
Hmm.
really granular eosinophils, though. And sometimes, with the multi-lobe neutrophils, sometimes you may only get two of the lobes in the section.
That could be it then, yeah.
But there's like this is like it's like this doesn't have a granular cytoplasm that I'm seeing like an eosinophil would. But there's definitely extravasated red blood cells. There might be an EO. This might be an EO.
Hmm.
But the predominance is what?
Neutrophilic.
Yeah. And what else do we see? Like what are these little guys?
What you last circled looked like a lymphocyte because it's so black. But these other ones look like they're so small. Is that like neutrophilic dust
Yeah,
or?
too small to just be a lymphocyte. At least most of these are. Look how small these guys are.
Hmm.
It's they're about the same size. Let's take a look at like one of those obvious neutrophils. It's almost about like the same size as if I just took one of the lobes off this neutrophil. Is
Hmm.
that a coincidence?
So it could just be the neutrophilic dust, like I was saying, or is it?
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
There's Caryophyllus here. There's neutrophilic dust.
okay.
So
Just
we
like,
have
I'll keep going. Yeah, we have neutrophilic dust. We have neutrophils.
yeah,
We
we have
uh
extravasated red blood cells.
Is it like vasculitis? Like
Okay, yeah. What are the criteria? So what things do we look for vasculitis? What are some of the things we look for?
you could have like extravasated red blood cells for
Hmm.
leukocytoclastic vasculitis. You could have uh neutrophils. Uh I feel like there's like a difference between vasculopathy and then vasculitis.
Yes, there is. What is the difference?
That's a great question.
Well, what is a vasculopathy?
That's like disordered um that's like I'm thinking like coagulopathy.
Yeah, the
Um
vessel, the lumen of the vessel is obstructed in a
hmm
vasculopathy.
hmm
In the vasculitis, it's the
is
damage. Yeah, it's damage of the
inflammation of the
vessel
actual vessel, yeah.
from the inflammation. And these vessels, you can see they're actually open. They're not coagulated. They're not clogged,
Hmm.
but there is something that they start building up from the damage.
Fibrin.
Yeah, fibrin. And that's the hardest of the four characteristics to see in leukocytoclastic vasculitis, just on H&E. I mean, here's neutrophilic dust. You can see it. Here's the neutrophils. Here's the red blood cells. But sometimes you don't always get the picture perfect fibrinoid necrosis in some of the vessels.
Hmm.
But you can start seeing them. You can start seeing, and it's in the wall. It's not in the lumen. So this is the textbook picture of leukocytoclastic vasculitis.
Mm.
Here you can
Avi,
start.
so sometimes you can get fibrin thrombi and LCV. Just it can happen, like fibrin within vessel walls and fibrin thrombi in lumens. So you'll see that from time to time, but you're right. It's a sharp minority.
Yeah. And in some conditions, you can have overlap. You can have both vasculitis and vasculopathy. You guys know some conditions like that?
What was your question, Avi? Sorry.
You guys know conditions where you can get both vasculitis and vasculopathy typically? So let's say someone snorted some cocaine.
Oh, levamisole-induced
That's one of
vasculopathy?
them. Yeah, you see neutrophils. You can see both vasculopathy and vasculitis.
Hmm.
Where do you see it commonly clinically? Where do you see the reticulate pattern?
Warfarin necrosis?
No. In levamisole laced cocaine.
Oh, is it like I thought it was like acrocytes like on the ear or
Ear.
like
Ear is the
ear.
typical one. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about this?
This is a punch. Um, Inflammation extending deeper down to the dermis. With like the fat itself, it looks as though that this is like some could be paniculitis. This is like this large ES, yeah. Oh, this is going to be like polyarteritis nodosa or
Good. What tipped you into polyarteritis nodosa?
the wreath-like structure in the middle.
Okay, so it's not just the small vessel vasculitis then. You're thinking
Correct.
size.
Yeah.
Polyarteritis nodosa is what size tip classically?
Median.
Medium.
Median.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes when you get vasculitic processes that are in the fat, it's not surprising that there's spillover paniculitis.
Yeah.
Just like remember when you have a septal paniculitis, can you get spillover into the lobules?
Correct. Yes.
So is there anything magical about a medium vessel that couldn't do that? That the septa could? No. It's the same thing. There's a bunch of inflammation here. There's spillover in the lobules. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you got it. This is polyarteritis nodosa.
And then, so then Avi, is like the whole idea of like, I think it's erythema nodosum causes septal paniculitis, but that doesn't
Yes.
necessarily mean that you can't not necessarily see lobular if the inflammation is severe enough.
In fact,
But
almost every paniculitis has, if you go through every paniculitis, you will be hard pressed to find a 100 exactly percent pure septal or pure lobular.
Mhm.
There's almost always some spillover from one to the other. You can look at case after case of erythema nodosum, and what you'll find is it's predominantly septal.
Got it.
But it's very hard to like, oh, there was absolutely no lobular or spillover at all. Like, I've never seen that.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Another punch.
Another punch.
Love. Some more paravascular superficial infiltrate. That doesn't look like it's extending deep down. More of the same from the first slide. It seems like these are a bunch of newts that actually you can see that collapsed vessel there.
Let me ask you, is it more the same or is there something different?
I think these have more EOs.
Yes. How many E's do they have?
A lot of EOs.
A lot of EOs. Yes. It's loaded. By the way, what's this starting to become?
Like fibrotic, it's like sclerosed.
You see how all these EOs are getting together and all
Uh-huh.
their granules are over here?
Uh-huh.
What happens when a bunch of eosinophils get together and like spill out all their granules?
Eosinophilic granulomatosis with polyangiitis.
Well, so that
I
it
was thinking
happens to
granuloma.
it happens to be that's not a bad idea for this case, but that's not what the feature I'm highlighting is. Let me see if there's another one. No, that's not as good as generated collagen. There are better examples, but this is starting to form a baby little, looks like a fire almost.
Oh, flame figure?
Yeah, it's starting to form a flame figure. When a bunch of eosinophils get together and you have all these, you can even see, look at all these granules.
Oh.
So it's a little baby flame figure. Does that mean this is Wells syndrome?
I just know that that's what you can see, where you can see flame figures is in Wells syndrome or
Is that the only
eosinophilic
case?
cellulitis.
Is that unique to Wells?
I thought you
Like
could see that.
pathognomonic?
I thought you could also see that in eosinophilic granulomatosis with polyangiitis.
You're right. You can. You can. It's not specific to Wells. Don't just jump to Wells when you see a flame figure. There are other in fact, there's a number of things you could see it with. In fact, anytime you see numerous extensive eosinophils, there's a chance for you to see flame figures. Like really extensive arthropod reactions with extensive eosinophils, you can see flame figures. EGPA, as you mentioned, you can see flame figures. How's this vessel looking?
Not great.
What's not great about it?
It doesn't look so patent, and then it's like surrounded by lymphocytes, um, and there's like intravascular eosinophils. It looks like it, yeah, it's just not good.
So one thing about not patent, so you notice that there's a little bit of swelling. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
that's one thing. And is there anything that standing out to you in this like wall of the vessel? It's not the best example, but probably the best one on the slide. Let me see if I can get you a good vessel to compare it to. Not. Okay. How's the wall of the vessel doing?
Oh, it looks like thinner. It doesn't look
Yeah.
so like, yeah, does it look, it looks like it looks thinner here. It doesn't look like it's so like fibrinoid in that last one or
Yes, exactly. If we look at this vessel compared to that other one, look at the difference. Look at how look at how that wall is all expanded.
Mhm.
Why did that happen?
Inflammation
What's
or
inside the wall?
uh
You just said it.
fibrin.
Fibrin, yes. It's fibrinoid. It's starting to get fibrinoid necrosis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And in this case, we don't really see much extravasated erythrocytes or a whole lot of neutrophils. This is mostly eosinophilic.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we thinking? Well,
Uh,
we see fibrinoid necrosis with a dense with lymphocytes and eosinophils.
I mean, could this just be severe arthropod?
Well, what's the issue with a severe arthropod here? It could be, but what's the what we expect more?
It'd be deeper down.
Be deeper down, yeah. It's much more crescendo decrescendo. And sometimes you may be able to get concomitant vascular changes, but this is much more, a little more superficial for that. So what else is on our differential?
Are you thinking of like Happied? Is that what
Happy
would
is our
that
differential for what?
is that eosinophilic spongiosis?
Yeah, this is a bit different because that's for
Okay.
eosinophilic spongiosis. In this case, we don't really have the eosinophils with the spongiosis. There is spongiosis here overlying it to some degree, but there's not really eosinophils over here. The eosinophil action is attacking the vessels.
Mhm.
Avi, you said that there's no neutrophil involved, so I guess the differential probably include like a lymphocytic vasculitis
Or in this case, with the predominant
or
cell
like
being
eosinophilic vasculitis.
in eosinophilic vasculitis. And if I told you that this is that this was Pianca instead of
Oh,
C.
like MPA or um there's Churg-Strauss, there's eosinophilic granulomatous polyangiitis and micropolyangiitis.
So wait, so what's the distinction between Churg-Strauss and EGPA?
EGPA is C-ANCA.
So Churg-Strauss is EGPA. It's just a different name. Why did they change the
Yeah.
name?
Uh, I thought EGPA was Wegener's.
So what is Wegener's? That's GPA.
This
That's
GPA.
granulomatosis of polyangiitis. And is
Yeah.
that Pianca or Cianca?
I think that's I always get these confused.
GPA is associated with CA.
Yeah, so GPA or Wegener's is Cianca.
Mm-hmm.
EGPA or microscopic polyangiitis is going to be Pianca.
Mm.
Now, from what I understand, neither Churg nor Strauss did anything wrong, and they just got canceled for anyway. But I don't think they were actually Nazis. I think that was a myth. But for better or for worse, the politically correct name is no longer Churg Strauss. It is EGPA, eosinogranulomatosis polyangiitis, and that's what this ended up being. But yes, that's the thought process. You see that this is not just a regular LV. You have to recognize these eosinophils and go down a different differential here.
Mm-hmm.
What do we see here?
A broad-shaped biopsy showed maybe there's like a lymphocytic infiltrates in the dermal, like diffuse.
Where are we, by the way?
Cells infiltrates in the dermal layer.
Where do you guys think we are?
It's probably on this facial area or
Yeah, face.
Yeah.
Good.
um,
Okay.
Oh,
By
is
the
this
way,
like a Gren
what's
zone?
this? What's this area?
Gren zone?
Gren zone.
Oh gosh. So there's colloid milium, there's granuloma faciale, there's leprosy, tuberculoid leprosy, leukemia that can cause this. Being the fact that it's on the face and the dermis looks fairly busy, I would sooner say granuloma faciale.
Okay, what do we see in granuloma faciale?
A busy dermis.
Busy with what?
Busy with a lot of stuff. Or
kind of
like
stuff?
vasculitis.
EOs, newts, lymphocytes, like
Yeah.
like
Kind
a
of
lot
what you're seeing right now, right? Look, you
Yeah,
have
yeah.
everything came to the party. You
Yeah,
have a
yeah.
plasma
Everything is here.
cell. You got an EO. Got a lot of EOs. You got newts. You got lymphs.
Everyone's here.
Everyone's here. Right? Just like my 6 o'clock lectures. Anyway. What else do we see?
Am I not important enough for you, Avi?
You are, of course you're important. If it was just you, I would just do the lecture. I'm serious. If it was any one person, I'd have to do it, but you know, you matter. So what fundamentally is granuloma faciale?
It's a eosinophilic it's like an eosinophilic condition, like otherwise known as
You
eosinophil
see
granuloma.
eosinophils in it. You do see
Yeah.
eosinophils in it, but what is it fundamentally?
I think it's vasculitis. That's kind
Yeah,
of
it's a nodular vasculitis. Is it really a granulomatous process?
No.
No, it's in the name. Granuloma is really in the name here. But it kind of has that appearance because of its nodularity. But it's really a chronic nodular vasculitis. And you can sometimes see in more chronic stages, you can see some fibrosis around the vessel. Where are we?
Acral skin.
Okay. And what's this?
Is that another Gren zone?
The Gren zone.
Is there pink stuff in the dermis?
perivascular onion fibrosis.
Yes, with a whole bunch of different cells and perivascular onion skinning fibrosis. What does that tell you?
I know there's like EED.
Yeah, there is EED. So what's EED?
Erythema elevatum diustium or
Okay.
diutinum.
And what do you see in EED?
Onion skin fibrosis. You
Yeah,
see, and then
basically it's you see a lot of the same things you see in granuloma faciale. Just typically, where's the typical location here?
it's usually on the extremities.
Yeah. And so we also have the Gren zone here. We appears that we have that almost from low power looks granulomatous, but fundamentally, again, it's that chronic nodular vasculitis.
I didn't know that EED causes a Gren zone.
You can get a granuloma. Well, it's not that surprising that you can see Gren zones in EED if it's a similar pathophysiology to granuloma faciale, is it?
Yeah, no, you're right.
What
I
is
just said
what is EED associated with, by the way?
HIV and streptococcus.
One more. They're correct. You're correct
Oh,
on
an
those two.
IG, it's also like a gammopathy, like an IgA gammopathy.
IgA monoclonal gammopathy, correct. Yes. 3 associations you have to know. Those are all testable on the boards. Chronic strep infection, HIV, IgA monoclonal gammopathy.
Board spotter.
Or spotter. What's this?
This is a punch.
It is a punch.
We got some glands.
You do have some glands.
We have like a little nerve.
This?
Is that a nerve or is that? Oh, it's muscle.
Yes. What kind of muscle is it?
Is it the pilia erector?
Yes. You can tell. It's kind of going where the sebaceous
Yeah.
glands of the hair are, right?
E.
See? It meets up here.
Mm-hmm.
That's the rector pili muscle. Anything else we have going on?
I don't know. It just looks bland.
Yeah, it does look bland. There's a sparse superficial perivascular infiltrate, but for the most part,
Yeah.
it's bland. So let's take a look at that sparse perivascular infiltrate. What do we
Some
see?
limps, limps and newts,
Limps and newts. There's neutrophils here.
newts and limps.
And really not much else. So in some cases, you might see a few some eosinophils. But otherwise, this is a pretty transient inflammatory dermatosis. And when I say transient, it's just it takes a certain amount of time for an inflammatory dermatosis to establish itself. In inflammatory dermatosis that are transient, they come and go quickly. They don't have
Urticaria.
enough time. Yes, exactly. This is urticaria.
Love. So urticaria, you'll see like newts and limps, but that's at the very beginning of when it's biopsy. Like, does it change at all? Like if it's like chronic idiopathic urticaria versus like towards the end of the 24 hours?
So urticaria. So in chronic idiopathic urticaria, do the lesions last for more than 24 hours in the same area?
No, that's urticarial vasculitis.
Yes, exactly. So it's important to not get the chronicity of what we're talking about confused. So chronic idiopathic urticaria often will look just like this. And that's because, well, the patient has it chronically. Why does it look like that? Well, that's because it's coming and going. And it's still not having enough time to establish itself the way urticarial vasculitis will.
But there are definitely EOs in urticaria, chronic
Yes.
urticaria. So you'll see sparse newts and EOs. If you only have neutrophils in the setting of urticaria, then you got to think of neutrophilic urticaria, which can be, run-of-the-mill urticaria where neutrophils predominate, or it can be neutrophilic urticaria associated with connective tissue disease.
Exactly. And if you see a whole lot of inflammation, at least the doctor needs sign out. Don't say urticaria because you'll get like a lecture about how urticaria is transient and you can't have that much inflammation. Or well, some might say any inflammation, but that's a different. But yes, Shane's absolutely correct. Yes, in more chronic forms of urticaria, you absolutely can see and do see eosinophils. Just be aware of who you're signing out with. Now look at this.
A little bit more than the last slide.
Yeah. What are we seeing?
This I'm seeing EOs.
You are seeing EOs.
It is sort of a late phase urticaria where you have a lot of EO and neutrophil.
What else do we have here?
Some limps.
There are limbs, yes. Let's see, good examples. These the best vessels I have? Okay.
The vessels are not great.
No,
Oh, in
not
that case, it's
not the
probably not
best. It's not.
urticaria.
I mean, look, it's not the classic textbook picture, but
But yeah,
the-
even those vessels look like, yeah, they look not great.
and also, by the way, there's something else that you're seeing. This, remember our old friend?
Ariorexis.
Ariorexis, our old friend, yes. So when we start seeing Ariorexis, some vascular damage, eosinophils, neutrophils, what do we have to think about?
Vasculitis,
What kind of vasculitis?
leukocytoclastic LCV.
Well, what's wrong with just plain Jane LCV here? First of all, what cell is here that's not typically with plain Jane LCV?
EO?
As the EOs.
EOs. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of EOs here, and they're surrounding vessels. They're pretty clearly attacking these vessels.
Or urticarial vasculitis.
Urticarial vasculitis. Yeah, that's what this ended up being. So does urticarial vasculitis last in the same place more than 24 hours?
Yeah.
Yes. But not urticaria. Good.
So then so then what June's last comment about the fact that like this wouldn't necessarily be like late stage urticaria because of we saw the changes to the vessels. Like could you
Yeah, exactly. If you start seeing changes suggestive of vasculitis, then that's typically not characteristic of just plain Jane urticaria,
yeah.
as the name implies.
Yeah, if you have urticaria, you're not going to have the vasculitic changes. And then but LCV can certainly have EOs in it. In fact, that first case you showed, Avi, there were definitely some EOs in there. The more EOs that we see in LCV, the more likely we're thinking it's drug associated. But honestly, like that last case you showed, it really, I think, requires, from my experience, ClinPath correlation. So if they're looking for leukocytoclastic vasculitis, yeah, I mean, you're going to see EOs. To me, I think of it as like an overlap between urticaria and LCV. You'll see a little edema. You might see more EOs, but you definitely need the CPC, I think, for leukocytic for the entity you just described.
Right. For urticarial vasculitis. Well,
Yeah,
the other thing I
urticarial
noticed,
vasculitis.
and the other thing I noticed is there's not a whole lot of, maybe this is just there's not a whole lot of extravasated RBCs here compared to like the other examples.
Yeah, that might just be the extent of damage. So
Might just
sometimes
be.
you see a lot, sometimes you don't see very many.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
I
just
was
don't
seeing
want
a lot of RBCs as well. Sorry, Dr. Meehan, for cutting you off. But I was also seeing not a lot of extravasated RBCs.
Yeah, it just shows you don't absolutely need them to make a diagnosis of vasculitis. And the criteria will vary from pathologist to pathologist, but it's usually you need that fibrin within the vessel wall. That's the key kind of constant feature probably across different opinions.
What do you guys see here?
Superficial infiltrate, much more exuberant than last. The infiltrate looks like it's predominantly lymphocytes, but there's more in it. I see some newts.
Is it still predominantly lymphocytes?
Oh no, it looks like it's more newts.
Predominantly neutrophil.
Yeah.
What else do we see? Like here. Here.
Like ground zone?
No, not quite a grand zone. I mean, it's meeting up
Like
here.
papillodermal pallor.
Papillary dermal edema.
Okay.
The key feature to recognize.
In that case, this is PMLE.
PMLE. What are the features of PMLE?
Oh, actually, not. Yeah.
Why not?
Probably. I don't know actually.
What cells do you see in PMLE?
It should be a neutrophil, right? Or no.
No.
Actually, lymphocytic. Sorry, PME is
Lymphocytes. PMLE should be lymphocytes.
This is sweet. If it's a neutrophil, it's probably sweet.
This is sweets.
Yeah.
So the point is, like in sweets, it don't get faked out. Because sometimes in sweets, look what you see here. What's this?
Karyorrhexis.
Karyorrhexis. Where did the karyorrhexis? It's just a whole bunch of neutrophils. Of course, you're going to get some karyorrhexis, and you can even get some. Like, look, sometimes in sweets you can get some vascular changes. Whether it's procedural, whether it's hemorrhage from procedural.
It's called incidental vasculitis.
I'm sorry?
This is called incidental vasculitis.
No, I don't think I'm not even convinced there is a true vasculitis here yet. But I've seen cases where there's sweets with features of vasculitis. And that I have seen. But the key is you see sheets of neutrophils with and the other key feature is papillodermal edema. You have to be thinking of sweets. And that explains where you see the karyorrhexis from, right? You don't need an extra explanation when you see just sheets of neutrophils. All right. What about this?
This is a shave. And the epidermal dermal junction, at least in the middle, looks crazy.
Okay.
And the horn
Wait, let's
is
describe this. So what's going on here?
I like that
That
discussion. That was really good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, I mean, that wasn't enough for you. It looks weird.
It does look weird. It looks crazy weird. In
True
what
that.
turned up? That's right.
Okay, well, uh there's a lot of blood.
There's some
And
blood, but what happened to all of this epi?
I don't know.
Ballooning, clear,
Well,
skin,
let's
edema.
go over here. Like, what does this remind you of? What is this? Like, if I just circled that, see this?
Mm-hmm.
Does that remind you, reminiscent of anything?
Ballooning or no?
This is a
Like-
balloon. This is a balloon.
Or exocyte. I'm not sure actually.
This is a well. It's coming from here, right? So it's a keratinocyte, and what's happening to it?
Dying.
Dying, dead. Have you guys heard of dead reds? Necrotic keratinocytes.
Necrotic keratinocytes.
So this area, and this in this case, you even have less viable. You see how the nuclei are not there anymore?
Yeah, that's all dead. Dead.
It's dying. Why'd it die? What are we going to investigate to figure this out?
Like next to, like in between what's healthy and not, or
Yeah, what keeps your epidermis alive?
the horn.
The horn.
I don't know. No, it's kind of the other way around. The dermis. The dermis. I don't know.
Yes. What in the dermis? What in the
Blood
dermis?
supply.
The
The
blood
blood
vessel-
The
supply.
blood supply. So when you see death like this, you got to remember in the back of your head, general look, a good heuristic is when you see death of the dermis or epidermis, check your blood supply. Something might be going on there. One of the things you got to check.
Is that jelly roll like cryo?
This is not
Oh.
a jelly.
You think we crayon colored or whatever?
This is not SJSTEN. This is, in fact, now one thing it has in common with SJSTEN is that there's not a whole lot of inflammation here in proportion to the death. There's a lot of death and not a lot of inflammation, but it's not SJSTEN. There is something else that explains this.
No. I'm referring the thrombus in the vessels, like
Oh, yes.
yeah, like
There are thromboses and these vessels
Yeah,
are clogged up.
Mm-hmm.
But jelly roll means something else, Avi. You gonna explain that?
sorry, that's
You
my
mean the jelly roll in SJSTEN with the epi? Is that what you're referring to?
No, actually, I'm trying to say it's like there's like a red thing that including the vessel. Jelly roll is a wrong term.
Okay. So you got that there's a vascular. Okay, good. So we know that there's some kind of vasculopathy, and that pretty much explains the death here.
Mm-hmm.
And if I told you this were on the legs,
Livedoid vasculopathy.
livedoid vasculopathy, what's another name for it?
Is it atrophy blanche?
Atrophy blanche. Or blanche. Wait, do you guys say atrophy blanche?
Well, I did wound
You
care.
say
and
tomato. I
call
say
it-
tomato.
Exactly.
But is it a French term? French term, right though? Right. Anyway,
Listen, I'm all in favor of saying it atrophy blanche. And sorry aciform,
Sorry, aciform.
Let's do it. All right, what about this?
This is a punch.
It is a punch.
Lots of infiltrate, deep, superficial. There's like so much inflammation that it's caused a lot of fluid at near the DEJ.
Okay. What else happens?
There's a little blood everywhere.
Is it?
The EO, is that? I think there's a lot of EO there.
There are a lot
Easy.
of Theos here.
Mm-hmm.
So what's this? And
Oh,
this.
flame figures
These
again,
are
or
flame figures. See the little itsy bitsy granules in here? Let me force zoom it.
got it.
See how it's granular?
Yeah.
The granules all coming together.
Mm-hmm.
There's loaded with flame figures in here.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know I just told you it was not specific, but this is like the quintessential
Oh, this
case of
is Wells syndrome.
Wells syndrome. Yeah.
Okay. So then what separated Wells from like the EGPA? Like how would I have known the difference
You
between
need,
those
well,
two?
in this, well, in well, so in just, well, first of all, in the EGPA, we saw something else. What did we see?
Um, that was like a whole 20 minutes ago, and my memory doesn't go
What
far.
is this? Does this remind you?
Also vasculitis, like
It's
fibrinal.
vasculitis.
Okay.
Now, look, again, it's not a specific thing, and there's some degree you'll need some clinical pathological correlation. If I see flame figures, am I going to know it's Wells versus like an exuberant arthropod reaction? Not necessarily. But you should be able to pick up vasculitis and flame figures to clue you into EGPA and
Okay.
EOs or eosinophilic vasculitis. What happened here? So, what used to nourish these keratinocytes?
Blood vessels.
The vessels. All right. So, I mean, when you see something like this, you're going to be thinking, okay, well, is this EM, SJS, TN, fixed drug? And, you know, it could be, but like, it doesn't really, it's not really fitting that pattern. There is not a lot of inflammation. So you might be thinking, okay, well, maybe SJS, TN. Not a whole lot of vacuolar interface dermatitis, though. Just death. So we have to check, cross our T's and dot our I's over here. We have to make sure something nefarious didn't happen.
There's a lot going on the vessels and the fat itself.
What's going on?
You say like it's like a septal paniculitis?
Well,
Or-
not really.
yeah, it's like further
I
down,
don't
it's
even see a
fine.
septa really that much. And maybe this no, not a septal paniculitis.
Is like a deeper, like a medium-sized vasculitis, or like a like.
I don't even see a vasculitis. Where's the vasculitis? There's not even a whole lot of inflammation here.
Mm-hmm.
I do see something. Like, what about this vessel?
I mean, what's that weird thing in the middle?
Yeah. What is that weird thing in the middle?
Thrombus, something.
Some
Oh,
kind.
is it a cholesterol
Well,
embolism?
thrombus is technically not the correct term here.
Is it
Scott got it.
embolus?
Yeah.
Cholesterol embolism?
Yeah,
Oh,
embolus, an embolus.
an
Yeah, you
embolus.
see the cholesterol clumps.
Yeah.
Good job. All right.
This is a shave, and there's a lot of inflammation.
There is a lot of
Like a lot. It's like literally like it's
Mhm.
everywhere.
Anything other than inflammation?
Maybe some extravasation of red blood, like red blood cells. or
Quite a
like-
bit of red blood cells, and
Mhm.
something else also that has to do with the red blood cells.
Is that hemosiderin?
Yeah, hemosiderin.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a bit of hemosiderin here.
Mm-hmm.
So we have what kind of patterns are we putting this into?
This is like lichenoid.
It's okay, yep, lichenoid, band-like, not necessarily
Mhm.
lichenoid based dermatitis, but there's band-like infiltrate.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of red blood cells and hemosiderin buildup.
Or purport
Mm-hmm.
like
Sorry,
pigmented dermatosis.
pigmented purpuric dermatosis. And
Mm-hmm.
in some cases, pigmented purpuric dermatoses can look like MF. You can get like lymphocyte exocytosis. In this case, you don't really have a lot of that, but that's something to be aware of.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of pigmented purpuric dermatoses are there?
There's Schamberg's.
Okay.
There's one that is like a super weird name, and it's
Just
like
one? I don't know. I think there's multiple
there's
super weird
probably
names.
multiple. Gosh, I can't remember what it's called.
Lichenoid dermatosis of something.
Yes,
Road and
yes,
blue?
June.
There
Keep
and
going.
blue.
Yes.
And what
Ducus and Capitanacus.
Ducus and Capitanacus. And there's one more. I'll give you a hint. It begins with lichen. It's like you have a band-like infiltrate over here. Anyone hear of lichen aureus?
Oh yes.
That one too, right? That's what this was ended up called. This was ended up called lichen aureus.
Lichenoides.
Lichen aureus is the only one that has specific features. It's the only one that has the band-like lymphocytic infiltrate with the reds and the hemosiderin deposition. The other ones, they all are perivascular, but they don't have that band-like.
Oh, that's good to know. What's this?
Dash and nodule.
Well,
I mean, there's like
do you guys see what I'm gonna trace over here?
oh, it's like these wavy. Yeah, I see that.
Palisaded.
And do you see this, by the way?
Oh, it's a vessel.
It's a vessel. How
It's like
big is
very
this
large.
vessel?
It's large. Large.
It is large. I agree. It's a large vessel.
So there's Takayasu's giant cell arteritis.
Which one do you think
Uh,
this one is?
Oh, giant cell.
Yeah,
Giant
it is
cell.
giant.
It's a giant cell.
And here,
More giant cells.
more giant cells. Okay, temporal arteritis, giant cell arteritis. Now, how do we want to biopsy temporal arteritis?
Oh, there's like it's like a skip, something about like skip.
There are skip lesions in temporal
Yes.
arteritis. So what do we do to
You get a large portion of it, so
okay? Is there a number that's recommended?
it's like 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeter.
According to Elsa,
Uh,
it's 2 centimeters.
oh well.
Yeah.
That's so much.
A lot.
It's a
Yeah.
lot.
But you can skip, yeah, because of the skip lesions. You got to get a good section of it.
Are they gonna get derm for us to do that, or like can I get like surgery to do it?
Well,
I
I've
would get a surgeon to do
get a
it.
surgeon to do it, but I will
Yes.
tell you that
A 2 centimeter
That's
like
hilarious.
biopsy of a vessel, like oh my god.
you're probably not
I
going to
would
do
just
it, but
know
you
how to
may
do it.
get tested on how to do it. That's the funny thing.
Okay, but like okay, sure.
They want you to know the whole skip lesion thing.
I'm gonna get Gen Surge.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you that there's been I know quite a bit of our Mohs surgeons have have cut the temporal artery all the time, and yeah, the way they describe it is like it lets you know about it. It'll let you know. It'll start pumping for you. But yeah.
This is a punch.
It is a punch.
There's a lot of inflammation,
There's a lot of inflammation.
a lot of infiltrate. The vessels are less than ideal.
I agree.
That's not ideal.
That's not ideal. No, not at all. Okay. Some vasculitis. Any other inflammatory infiltrate over here? Let's see. Any other cells?
Newts?
Yeah. How many newts?
Lots of newts.
Lots of newts. Something
Many.
else here, though.
Yeah, I don't know what those are. Like it has like the weird rimming.
Well, not really rimming, but let me see if I can get a better section of it. Ooh, here's even better.
It looks granulomatous.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, in a sense, yes, but there's something else inside here.
Yeah.
Could that adipocytes? Or
I'm sorry, what was
Is it-
that?
Oh, ghost cells?
Not ghost cells.
Uh,
Has these blue globes.
globi?
They're globi. And in fact, here's a better example of them. You'll never get it this good except on an exam, but here's like the picture perfect example.
Uh-huh.
See that? Full of organisms in here.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
in practice, like if you get something like this, you're actually lucky.
Oh, is this erythema induratum?
No.
Oh.
What?
Uh,
You're close. Erythema of what?
nodosum leprosum.
Yeah, there you go.
I just had a patient today and I was consulted on this and they were like, do a biopsy. And I went to her and she didn't want a biopsy.
Oh no. Wait, you refused biopsy for erythema nodosum leprosum?
We already knew that she had it, so like they
Oh,
just
okay.
wanted it. Yeah.
Ah, I really wanted to see that. Oh well. That would have been something.
Yeah, erythema nodosum leprosum.
All right. Okay, first of all, where are we?
Acral skin.
Acral skin.
Acral skin.
And there's what over here?
Papillary dermal edema.
Papillary dermal edema. What else is there?
Superficial and deep perivascular and periecrin, it looks like.
Yes. So what is it?
It could be PMLE or perniosis.
Okay, which one are we favoring?
probably perniosis, but
Yeah,
Polar side,
perniosis.
papillary
Yeah,
dermal
perniosis.
edema. And it's just tracking up these eccrine glands.
Perniosis.
That's the perfect picture, perfect perniosis. I don't think we'll get a better example. What's this? What now? Here's a clue. You don't always get something like this, but what are these lines?
Is that like a knife artifact or like
Oh,
from
it is an
cutting or
artifact. Yes, it's an artifact. What happened? How does that
it's like
happen?
is it like from tissue processing
It
or
is during the tissue processing. And what happens during the tissue processing?
the skin, like the actual specimen itself is so friable, or like you're cut, it's like when
Well,
you're slicing
so
it.
when the tissue is cut, normally you have a nice, perfect, sharp edge knife, and it
Yeah.
just cuts the tissue. And you get something that looks like this. What happens when your knife's not so good, or when you have something stuck on your knife?
Oh, like calcinosis, like calcium, or
Yeah, some kind of thing that either nicks the knife or gets dragged through the tissue.
uh-huh.
And
You get all
sometimes that
the
can clue you in, like, okay, if I track that down, maybe I'll find out where it came from.
there it is. A bunch of
And what is
calcium,
it?
calciphylaxis.
Can we make the diagnosis of calciphylaxis on this?
Probably not.
Hopefully not. Why not?
I think calcification is like more of a microvasculature calcification, not like this
Yes.
big.
Yes. And why do we make the diagnosis on the microvascular calcification, not something like this?
Because this should just be like calcification from like atherosclerosis.
Calcification for atherosclerosis. You guys know that calcification from atherosclerosis actually only happens on arteries that have a high enough pressure. So you won't really see that. You won't see calcification from atherosclerosis in the venuses. In fact, atherosclerosis itself, what they've done experiments on this where they have transposed veins to the arterial system and arteries to the venous system. And they've induced atherosclerosis in an artery. They'll transpose the artery to a vein, to the venous system, and they'll take a vein and put it where the artery should be. And guess what happens? The atherosclerosis resolves in the artery once you put it in the venous system, and then the vein that you took and put in the arterial system actually gets atherosclerosis. And then you flip it back, and it goes back.
Wow. Cardiology basic science is like crazy.
So they did the experiment in rabbits last I checked, but I see no reason why I wouldn't translate. So anyway, what do we see here, guys?
And
These
this
little itsy bitsy witsy.
calciflaxis.
That's the calciflax. What kind of stain can we do?
Von Casa
The Von Casa.
or alizarin red.
Yes, and now we do Von Casa. I actually tried to get alizarin red, and I was very disappointed because we actually
Shouldn't
have
it
the
be?
order. We actually have the order, but because so few people ordered it, they don't have any reagent left, and they don't plan on ordering it anytime soon. So I'm out of luck here. But
Same.
I know. But so what's the difference, by the way? What's the difference between what Von Casa stains and what alizarin red stains?
The alizarin red stains like calcium, that's also ionized calcium, right?
Well, the alizarin red stains calcium even when it's not. That's the point.
Oh, when it's also like extracellular.
It targets calcium, basically. What does Von Casa do? Does Von Casa target your calcium specifically?
No.
What does it target?
I think it's calcium salts.
Yeah,
Yes.
salt, the phosphate. It's really the calcium phosphate salts that it best targets. And that's why things like calcium hydroxyapatite they can stain sometimes, not very good stain for it. You get some staining, like a little bit of black dots inside calcium hydroxyapatite, but it's not really a perfect stain for it. It's really the calcium calcium phosphate salts. It's more phosphate than calcium that it targets. Now, in practice, for something like this, it doesn't matter. Either one will stain something like this. But in certain conditions where it's a different form of calcium, you have to be aware of that. And what about this?
And see epidermis atrophy.
Good.
And
excellent. Atrophy of the epidermis.
Epidermis. So there may
you
be
can see something that's called this little step-off depression because of the atrophy. Some people have described that, but yes, you know the atrophy.
Disease.
Yes, very good. Dego's disease. How'd you get that? Okay, tell me Dego's disease.
Yeah, that was good.
You just
So
mentioned
Diego,
there's like a dip, like a dip,
depression.
depression, and Diego's disease is also presented as like a lymphocytic vasculitis, I think.
Yes. And what's the shape? If you-
Maybe it's like a triangle.
So you can imagine, and this is the one case, by the way, if you say wedge shape, Dr. Neat won't get on your case. He actually does believe the wedge shape in this case. But so you can imagine like it's this here started off like over here, and then it gradually expanded, and you get all this sclerosis, and now you're over here. Dagos, DEGOS.
Yeah, I
So-
think God.
And by the way, what do we have to worry about with these patients?
GI perforation.
Bowel
Yes.
perforation. That's what kills them, by the way. Bowel perf. Stroke, they can get strokes too, but the killer is bowel perforation. All right, awesome. What a great way to end. I'm very impressed you guys got that. Good job, guys. And thank
Good
you,
job,
Shane, as
Jim.
always, for joining us.
Thanks.
Great job, Avi. And yeah, you guys know your stuff. So it's pretty impressive.
Just wait until you get us in front of the scope. It's gonna go all out the window.
All right. See you guys. Have a good night.
See ya.
Bye. Thank you.